Have you ever felt like your mind is a battlefield? A place where you are constantly under siege, not from an external enemy, but from your own thoughts. Self-doubt, anxieties about the future, regrets about the past, and a relentless stream of questioning swirl around you, pulling you into a cycle of helplessness. You hear the whispers, "I'm not good enough. Things will never get better. Why does everything seem to be against me?" You wake up in the morning, and before your feet even touch the floor, the chaos begins. The alarm goes off, and you hit snooze, not out of a desire for more rest, but as a small act of retreat from the day ahead. Just 5 more minutes of quiet before the onslaught. You finally get up, grab your phone, and the invasion commences. Emails demanding your immediate attention, news headlines designed to provoke fear, social media feeds showcasing curated versions of success that make your own life feel lacking. Your mind is instantly pulled in 1,000 different directions, none of which you chose. You feel busy, overwhelmed, and reactive, but are you truly moving forward? Are you living, or are you just surviving? Deep down, something inside you feels like it's quietly fading. Not because you are weak, but because it has been far too long since you truly showed up for your own life, since you stood as the calm commander of your own mind. You compromise on your principles. You delay your dreams. You ration your effort, your focus, your very presence, as if you'll be given a second chance at this one precious life. This journey we are about to embark on is not here to offer you a fleeting dose of motivation. This is a wake-up call. It is a deep, foundational training session for your mind, designed to help you build what the ancient philosophers called an inner citadel, a fortress of the mind so resilient, so calm, and so well fortified that the chaos of the external world can no longer breach its walls. Our tool for this construction is Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that is simple, grounded, and brutally honest. For over 2,000 years, its principles have been the secret weapon of emperors like Marcus Aurelius, statesmen like Seneca, and former slaves like Epictetus. They weathered the fiercest storms of fate, plague, exile, war, and political betrayal, and they left behind a blueprint. A guide not for an easy life, for they promised no such thing, but for a life of strength, purpose, and profound tranquility, no matter the circumstances. They teach us that to master life, you must first learn to master your mind. Today, we will not just talk about philosophy. We will walk the path. We will delve into the core pillars of the Stoic mindset, dissecting its principles and forging them into practical, actionable tools for the modern world. We will learn to see the world not as it is, but as we are. We will learn to distinguish between the raging storms outside our control and the unshakable stillness we can cultivate within. We will learn to embrace adversity, not just as something to be endured, but as the very material from which we build our character. We will define our virtues and live by them, finding a compass for our actions in a world that often seems to have lost its way. This is a long-form guided reflection, a deep dive that requires your presence and your focus. Let nothing distract you. This is your time. Your time to stop reacting and start leading. Your time to stop being a casualty of life and start being its architect. The answers you have been seeking are right here, within you, waiting to be unlocked. The journey to building your inner citadel, to forging a true Stoic mindset, begins now. 1. The foundation, perception is everything. The first and most fundamental pillar of the Stoic mindset rests on a single, revolutionary idea, an idea so powerful that if you were to grasp only this one concept, your life would transform irrevocably. The former slave and revered Stoic teacher, Epictetus, articulated it with piercing clarity in his Enchiridion, or handbook. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. Let that sink in for a moment. It is not the event itself, the traffic jam, the critical email from your boss, the unexpected bill, the breakup, the negative comment on social media, that causes your suffering. It is the story you tell yourself about the event. It is the judgment you attach to it. It is your perception. Our minds are meaning-making machines. We do not experience raw, objective reality. We experience a filtered, interpreted version of reality, colored by our beliefs, our past experiences, our fears, and our desires. Stoicism teaches us that this layer of judgment is the true source of our emotional turmoil. The external event is neutral. It is just a fact. Our interpretation is what makes it good or bad, fortunate or catastrophic. Consider a simple, everyday scenario. You are preparing for an important presentation at work. You've spent weeks on it. On the day of the meeting, you discover a critical error in one of your data slides just minutes before you are set to begin. Now, the event itself is neutral, there is an error on a slide. But observe the two distinct paths the mind can take. The untrained mind immediately layers on judgments. This is a disaster. I'm going to look incompetent. My boss will be furious. This is typical of my luck. I'm a failure. This narrative of catastrophe triggers a cascade of negative emotions, panic, anxiety, shame, and despair. Your heart races, your palms sweat, your mind goes blank. You have been completely hijacked by your own perception. You are now suffering, not because of the error on the slide, but because of the terrifying story you have told yourself about it. Now, consider the Stoic mindset. The trained mind, the mind that has practiced observation, also sees the error. It acknowledges the fact. But it stops there, before the automatic judgment kicks in. It creates a space between the stimulus, the error, and the response. In that space, it chooses its perception. Instead of, "This is a disaster," the thought might be, "There is an error. This is not ideal, but it is what it is. What is within my control right now?" The focus immediately shifts from the uncontrollable past, the mistake has already been made, to the controllable present. I cannot change the slide now, but I can control how I address it. I can acknowledge the error calmly and professionally at the start of my presentation. I can focus on delivering the rest of the information with clarity and confidence. This is an opportunity to demonstrate grace under pressure. Do you see the profound difference? The external event remained identical. What changed was the internal response. The first mind was a victim of its perception, the second was the master of it. This is the first gate to the inner citadel. Learning to see the gap between what happens and the story we tell ourselves about what happens. This is not a call for toxic positivity or pretending that setbacks aren't challenging. Stoicism is brutally realistic. It acknowledges pain, difficulty, and hardship. But it insists that we have a choice in how we frame these events. Seneca, in his letters, often wrote about the power of our judgments. He argued that we often suffer more in imagination than in reality. We build elaborate, terrifying scenarios in our minds about what might happen, tormenting ourselves with possibilities that may never come to pass. Your partner is late coming home. The untrained mind imagines a terrible accident. Your boss sends a message saying, "We need to talk." The untrained mind imagines being fired. These are self-inflicted wounds, born from perception. So how do we begin to practice this? How do we train ourselves to become observers of our thoughts rather than prisoners of them? It begins with a simple, yet profound, daily practice. Reflective exercise, dissecting your perceptions. Tonight, before you go to sleep, take out a journal. This will not be a diary of events, but a laboratory for your mind. Think of one thing that disturbed you today. It could be something small, a rude cashier, a friend who didn't text back, or something larger. Now, draw a line down the middle of the page. On the left side, write down the objective facts of the event. Be brutally neutral, as if you were a camera recording the scene. For example, "My colleague interrupted me 3 times during the team meeting," or "I received an email with critical feedback on my report." Stick only to what happened, stripped of all emotion and interpretation. On the right side, write down the story you told yourself about the event, the judgments, the interpretations, the assumptions. For example, "My colleague has no respect for me. He thinks my ideas are worthless. He is trying to undermine me," or this feedback means I'm bad at my job. I'm going to be overlooked for the promotion. My boss is disappointed in me. Now, look at both columns. The left column is the external reality. The right column is your internal creation. The suffering you felt did not come from the left column. It came entirely from the right. The act of separating these two is the first step toward reclaiming your power. You begin to see that your thoughts are not infallible truths, they are mental habits, often outdated and unhelpful. Do this every day for a week. Treat it like a workout for your mind. You are training your awareness. You are learning to catch your judgments in the act. At first, it will be difficult. Your automatic reactions are deeply ingrained. But with consistent practice, that space between stimulus and response will begin to widen. You will find yourself pausing, questioning your initial perception, and choosing a more rational, more resilient, and more peaceful path. This is the foundation of the Stoic mindset. It is the understanding that while the world outside is unpredictable and often chaotic, the world within is yours to command. Your mind is your kingdom, and your perceptions are the laws that govern it. Choose to enact laws of wisdom, resilience, and calm, and you will have built the first unbreachable wall of your inner citadel. 2. The Citadel's blueprint, the dichotomy of control. Once we have laid the foundation of perception, understanding that our inner world is shaped by our judgments, we must then draw the architectural blueprint for our inner citadel. This blueprint is perhaps the most famous and practical tool in the entire Stoic arsenal, the dichotomy of control. It is a principle so simple it can be stated in a single sentence, yet so profound it can reorient your entire life. Epictetus taught it as the chief rule in life: some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, office, and, in a word, whatever is not of our own doing. The Stoics believe that the vast majority of human anxiety, frustration, and suffering comes from a fundamental confusion between these two categories. We exhaust ourselves trying to control things that are, by their very nature, uncontrollable. We try to control other people's opinions of us. We try to control the economy, the weather, the traffic. We try to control the outcome of our efforts, forgetting that while our effort is up to us, the result never is. By staking our peace of mind on these external factors, we are, as Seneca would say, willingly putting ourselves in chains. We become slaves to the unpredictable whims of fortune. Conversely, true freedom and tranquility arise when we learn to ruthlessly focus our energy, attention, and concern only on what is within our control: our thoughts, our judgments, our choices, our actions, our character. This is the domain of the Stoic. This is the ground upon which the inner citadel is built. Marcus Aurelius referred to this internal domain as a place of retreat no one could take from him. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't a philosophy of passive resignation. It is not about shrugging your shoulders and saying, "Oh well, I can't control it." On the contrary, it is the ultimate philosophy of action and personal responsibility. It is about pouring every ounce of your energy into the things you can change, while cultivating a calm acceptance of the things you cannot. Let's bring this down to earth with a modern parable. Imagine two archers preparing for a competition. The first archer is obsessed with the externals. He worries constantly. What if the wind picks up? What if the sun is in my eyes? What if the crowd makes me nervous? What if my opponent shoots a perfect score? I have to win this competition. His mind is scattered, fixated on a dozen variables he cannot control. His training is inconsistent because his motivation is tied to the weather and his mood. On the day of the competition, he is a nervous wreck. The slightest gust of wind throws him off. The murmur of the crowd distracts him. He is defeated before he even draws his bow, not by his opponent, but by his own misplaced focus. The second archer is a Stoic. She understands the dichotomy of control. She knows she cannot control the wind, the sun, the crowd, or her opponent. She can only control herself. So, she focuses exclusively on her domain. She dedicates her energy to perfecting her stance, her breathing, her grip, the smooth release of the arrow. She trains her mind to remain calm and focused, regardless of the conditions. On the day of the competition, she is a picture of tranquility. The wind blows, and she adjusts her aim without frustration. The crowd roars, but she hears only her own breath. She doesn't focus on winning, she focuses on executing the perfect shot, over and over again. She has poured her entire being into what is up to her. The outcome, the medal, the reputation, is a preferred indifferent. She would be pleased to win, but her self-worth and inner peace are not dependent on it. She has already achieved the truest victory, mastery over herself. This is the mindset we must cultivate. In our own lives, we are the archer. Every day presents us with targets. A difficult project at work. A fitness goal. A challenging conversation with a loved one. Are you focusing on the wind and the crowd, or are you focusing on your stance and your breath? The story of Theodore Roosevelt serves as a powerful testament to this principle. As a child, he was frail and suffered from debilitating asthma, often confined to his bed. Many believed he would lead a short, weak life. The external circumstances were stacked against him. He could not control his diagnosis. But Roosevelt, with a spirit that can only be described as stoic, refused to be defined by it. He recognized what he could control, his response. He famously told his father, "I will make my body." And so he did. He embarked on a rigorous regimen of physical exercise, boxing, hiking, weightlifting, transforming his weak frame into a symbol of rugged vitality. He focused relentlessly on his actions, his will, his discipline. The result was not just overcoming his illness but becoming one of the most dynamic and determined leaders in American history. He applied this same logic to his presidency. He couldn't control the political opposition or the press, but he could control his agenda, his effort, and his character. He lived the dichotomy of control. Practical exercise, the circle of control. This is a powerful visualization exercise to help you diagnose where you are wasting your precious mental and emotional energy. Take a piece of paper and draw a large circle. Inside this circle, draw a smaller one. The inner circle represents everything that is within your control. Start listing things here. Be specific. My thoughts. The judgments I make. The effort I put into my work. The food I choose to eat. Whether I exercise today. How I speak to my family. My choice to be kind or resentful. The principles I live by. Whether I hit the snooze button. The books I choose to read. Now, in the space outside the small circle but inside the large one, list everything that is outside of your control. Other people's opinions of me. Whether my partner is in a good mood. The traffic on my commute. The stock market's performance. Whether I get a promotion, I can control my effort, but the final decision is not mine. My genetics and chronic health conditions, I can control my management of them, but not their existence. The past. The future. The weather. Now, take a long, honest look at this diagram. Reflect on the last 24 hours. Where did you spend the majority of your energy? How much time did you waste worrying about, getting angry over, or trying to manipulate the things in the outer circle? Every ounce of energy spent on the outer circle is stolen from the inner circle. It is energy that could have been used to improve your thoughts, actions, and character. A Stoic's goal is to live entirely within that inner circle. They acknowledge the outer circle, they may have preferences about it, but they do not invest their tranquility in it. Their work, their focus, their very being is centered on what is theirs to command. As you move through your day, use this mental model as a filter. When you feel a surge of anxiety or anger, pause and ask yourself, is the source of this feeling in my inner circle or my outer circle? If it's in the outer circle, acknowledge it, and consciously withdraw your emotional investment. Say to yourself, this is not mine to control. Then, pivot your focus back to what you can do. Stuck in traffic? You can't control it, but you can control your breathing or what you listen to. Someone criticizes you. You can't control their words, but you can control your interpretation of them. This practice, repeated daily, is how you build the walls of your inner citadel. Brick by brick, choice by choice, you reclaim your mental territory. You stop being a puppet of your circumstances and become the master of your soul. This is the blueprint for a resilient and peaceful mind. 3. Forging resilience, the arts of premeditation and acceptance. If the dichotomy of control is the blueprint of our inner citadel, then the tools we use to forge its walls from the raw material of life are the twin practices of premeditatio malorum and amor fati. These are not mere intellectual exercises, they are the active, daily disciplines that build resilience. They are how a Stoic prepares for hardship and then learns not just to endure it, but to embrace it. Part A, Premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. We, as humans, are naturally averse to thinking about negative outcomes. We worry about them, yes, but we rarely sit down and calmly, systematically, visualize them. The Stoics, however, believed this was a critical error in judgment. They argued that it is the shock of the unexpected that truly breaks us. An anticipated blow, even a heavy one, is far easier to withstand than a light tap that comes out of nowhere. Seneca advised his friend Lucilius to regularly set aside time to contemplate potential misfortunes. This is why we say that nothing happens to the wise man contrary to his expectation, he wrote. This isn't about fostering pessimism or living in a state of constant fear. It is the exact opposite. It is a method for robbing fear of its power. It is strategic preparation. Think of it like a fire drill. You don't practice evacuating a building because you want it to burn down. You practice so that if it ever does burn down, you can remain calm, follow a plan, and get to safety without succumbing to panic. Premeditatio malorum is a fire drill for the soul. Let's apply this to a modern context. Imagine you have a crucial job interview tomorrow. The untrained mind will likely do one of two things, either engage in blissful ignorance, hoping for the best, or stew in a vague, formless anxiety about, what if it goes badly? The Stoic mind takes a different approach. It sits down for 10 minutes the night before and actively premeditates the evils that might occur. What if I get stuck in traffic and I'm late? The Stoic then formulates a plan. I will leave 30 minutes earlier than planned. I will have the interviewer's number saved in my phone to call them if there is an unforeseen delay. What if they ask me a question I don't know the answer to? The Stoic prepares. I will not panic or make something up. I will calmly say, that's an excellent question. I don't have the specific data on that, but based on my experience, here's how I would approach finding the solution. This demonstrates honesty and problem-solving skills. What if my mind goes blank from nervousness? The Stoic rehearses a response. I will have a glass of water next to me. I will pause, take a sip, take a deep breath, and say, let me take a moment to consider that. This buys me time and centers my mind. What if, after all this, I don't get the job? The Stoic confronts the ultimate fear. I will be disappointed, and that is natural. But my worth is not defined by this one job. I will ask for feedback to improve for the next opportunity. I will remember that this outcome is ultimately not in my control. My effort and preparation were. I did my best, and that is enough. By walking through these worst-case scenarios in advance, you have stripped them of their power to surprise and overwhelm you. You have transformed your anxiety from a paralyzing fog into a clear, actionable plan. You enter the interview not with naive optimism, but with a quiet, resilient confidence. You are prepared. This mental rehearsal doesn't just make you feel better. Modern psychology confirms that it trains your nervous system to remain calmer under pressure. Part B, Amor fati, the love of fate. While premeditatio malorum is the shield that prepares us for adversity, amor fati is the alchemy that transforms adversity into advantage. The Latin phrase, popularized by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche but deeply rooted in Stoic thought, translates to, a love of one's fate. This is one of the most challenging and yet most liberating of all Stoic concepts. It moves beyond mere acceptance of what happens. Acceptance can still carry a tone of begrudging resignation. I don't like this, but I'll tolerate it. Amor fati asks for something more radical, to not just accept, but to love everything that happens, to see it as necessary, essential, and even good. How is this possible? How can one love a painful diagnosis, a betrayal, or a failure? The Stoic answer is that every event, no matter how unwelcome, presents an opportunity to practice virtue. The obstacle does not block the path, the obstacle is the path. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. A difficult client isn't just a problem, they are an opportunity to practice patience and clear communication. A sudden illness isn't just a misfortune, it is an opportunity to practice courage and appreciate the simple gift of health. A public failure isn't just a humiliation, it is an opportunity to practice humility and learn from your mistakes. The story of Nick Vujicic is a profound modern embodiment of amor fati. Born without arms or legs, he faced circumstances most would deem a tragedy. He experienced deep depression and despair as a child. Yet, he did not remain a victim of his fate. He chose to embrace it, to love it, and to use it as his greatest strength. He realized that his unique condition gave him a unique platform to inspire others. His disability became his superpower. He didn't just accept his fate, he fell in love with it, understanding that it was the very thing that allowed him to fulfill his purpose. He now travels the world as a motivational speaker, his life a testament to the idea that our greatest obstacles can become our greatest assets if we choose to see them that way. This is the alchemy of the Stoic mindset. It is the power to look at the fire that was meant to consume you and see it instead as the forge in which your character is strengthened. Practical exercise, the reframe of fate. This exercise helps you move from tolerance to embrace. Think of a current challenge or obstacle in your life. Something you are resisting, resenting, or merely tolerating. It could be a demanding job, a difficult relationship, a financial struggle, or a health issue. First, state the objective fact. For example, I have lost my job. Next, consciously practice amor fati. Complete this sentence. This has happened, and I will not just accept it, I will love it, because it is an opportunity for me to practice resilience and creativity in finding new work. Learn what I truly want from a career. Strengthen my discipline in managing my finances. Spend more quality time with my family. Prove to myself that my worth is not tied to my job title. Repeat this reframe. Say it out loud. Write it down. Feel the shift in your energy as you move from a position of victimhood to one of power and agency. You are no longer just enduring your fate, you are choosing it, loving it, and using it. Together, premeditatio malorum and amor fati create an unbreakable resilience. You prepare for the worst, and you embrace whatever comes. You become, as Seneca described the wise man, like a solid rock against which the waves crash relentlessly, but which stands firm, unmoved, and tames the fury of the water around it. This is the strength of a forged soul. 4. The path of virtue, living with arete. We have laid the foundation of perception, drawn the blueprint of control, and forged the tools of resilience. Now, we must erect the central pillars that give our inner citadel its purpose and its moral direction. In Stoicism, these pillars are the 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. For a Stoic, virtue, or arete in Greek, meaning excellence of character, is the sole good. Things like health, wealth, and reputation are preferred indifference. They are nice to have, but they are morally neutral and have no bearing on your worth as a human being. A good person with no money is still a good person. A bad person with immense wealth is still a bad person. The only thing that truly matters, the only thing that can lead to a flourishing, meaningful life, eudaimonia, is the cultivation of a virtuous character. This is not an abstract, holier-than-thou concept. For the Stoics, virtue is practical. It is the compass for every action, the filter for every decision. To build a Stoic mindset is to commit to living a life guided by these four interconnected principles. Let's explore each one not as a vague ideal, but as an active, daily practice. 1. Wisdom, Sophia. Wisdom, for the Stoics, is not about accumulating facts or having a high IQ. It is the knowledge of what is truly good, bad, and indifferent. It is the ability to navigate the complexities of life with logic, reason, and clarity. It is, in essence, the master virtue that guides all others. The wise person understands the dichotomy of control. They know how to separate what they can change from what they cannot. They are skilled at examining their own perceptions, stripping away false judgments and emotional reactions to see things as they truly are. They make decisions not based on fleeting desire or fear, but on a clear-headed assessment of reality. Modern application: imagine you are a manager who discovers that a trusted employee has made a significant mistake that cost the company money. The unwise response is reactive and emotional, yelling at the employee, publicly shaming them, and making a rash decision to fire them. This is driven by anger and fear. The wise response is to pause. To separate the event, a mistake was made, from the judgment, this employee is incompetent and malicious. The wise leader investigates, was this a one-time error or a pattern? Was it due to a lack of training, a flawed process, or negligence? They approach the situation with the goal of understanding, not blaming. Their decision, whether it's providing more training, improving the system, or, if necessary, letting the employee go, is based on a logical assessment of what is best for the team and the company in the long run, not on a momentary emotional outburst. That is practical wisdom. 2. Justice, dikaiosune. Stoic justice is not just about laws and courts. It is a much broader concept that encompasses our duties to our fellow human beings. The Stoics were cosmopolitans. They believed that we are all citizens of the world, interconnected parts of a single human community. Justice, therefore, means treating others with fairness, kindness, integrity, and respect. It is about acting for the common good. Seneca famously wrote, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for a kindness." The just person understands that their own well-being is tied to the well-being of the whole. They act with honesty in their dealings. They fulfill their responsibilities to their family, their community, and their work. They see others not as tools to be used or obstacles to be overcome, but as fellow travelers on the human journey. Modern application: justice is in the 1,000 small choices we make every day. It's choosing not to spread gossip about a coworker, even if it might give you a social advantage. It's giving fair and honest feedback to your team members to help them grow. It's being a reliable friend, an attentive parent, and an ethical business owner who doesn't cut corners to make a profit. It is, as the jazz musician in the sample script demonstrated, recognizing your responsibility to others, in his case, teaching children discipline and commitment because it could save their lives. That is living with justice. 3. Courage, Andrea. Courage, in the Stoic sense, is not the absence of fear. It is acting rightly in the face of fear. It is the moral and physical bravery to endure pain, hardship, and difficulty without compromising your principles. It is about facing the truth, even when it is uncomfortable. The courageous person does what is right, not what is easy. They are willing to have the difficult conversation, to stand up for their beliefs even when they are unpopular, and to face their own flaws with honesty. They understand that a life of comfort is often a life of stagnation. As Seneca taught, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Courage is the virtue that allows us to face these strengthening challenges head-on. Modern application: courage might mean finally confronting a toxic relationship that has been draining your energy for years. It might be the courage of an entrepreneur to risk failure in pursuit of a vision they believe in. It is the courage to apologize when you are wrong, without making excuses. It is the quiet courage to get out of bed at 5 a.m. on a freezing morning because you made a commitment to your health. Every time you choose the harder, better path over the easier, lesser one, you are practicing the virtue of courage. 4. Temperance, sophrosyne. Temperance is the virtue of self-control, moderation, and discipline. In a world that constantly bombards us with temptations for more food, more entertainment, more possessions, more stimulation, temperance is the ability to say, this is enough. It is about mastering our desires, rather than being mastered by them. The temperate person is not ruled by their appetites. They eat to live, not live to eat. They use technology as a tool, not as an escape. They understand the difference between their needs and their wants. This discipline is not about joyless suppression, it is about liberation. By freeing yourself from the constant craving for more, you gain a profound sense of inner peace and freedom. You are no longer a slave to passing whims. Modern application, temperance is the most critical virtue for our distracting modern age. It is the discipline to put your phone away during dinner to be present with your family. It is resisting the urge to endlessly scroll through social media and instead picking up a book. It is choosing to save and invest your money for long-term freedom rather than spending it on fleeting pleasures. It is the essence of commitment over comfort. By practicing temperance, you conserve your most valuable resources, your time, your attention, and your energy, and direct them toward what truly matters. Practical exercise, the virtue of the day. Virtue is not built through contemplation alone, it is built through action. This exercise, drawn from the core of Stoic practice, helps you intentionally build character, one day at a time. Each morning, choose one of the 4 virtues to be your guiding star for the day. Today, my virtue is patience, a form of temperance and courage. Today, my virtue is honesty, a form of justice. Today, my virtue is clarity, a form of wisdom. Write it down. Keep it in your mind. Then, throughout the day, actively look for opportunities to practice it. When you get stuck in traffic, you will remember, this is my lesson in patience today. You will consciously choose to breathe calmly instead of getting frustrated. When a colleague asks for your opinion, you will remember, this is my opportunity to practice honesty with kindness. When you feel the urge to procrastinate, you will recall your commitment to courage and do the difficult task first. At the end of the day, take a few minutes to journal about your experience. Where did you succeed in embodying your chosen virtue? Where did you fall short? What did you learn? By making virtue a conscious, daily practice, you transform it from an abstract idea into a living, breathing part of who you are. You are no longer just hoping to be a good person, you are actively training to become one. This is the path of aridity. This is the path to a meaningful and unshakable life. 5. The Stoic in Action, a toolkit for the modern warrior. Stoicism is not a philosophy for the armchair. It is a philosophy for the arena of life. It is meant to be lived, practiced, and embodied, moment by moment, day by day. We have explored the core mindset, the pillars of perception, control, resilience, and virtue. Now, we assemble the toolkit. These are the daily habits, the rituals, the mental exercises that allow you to integrate the Stoic mindset into the fabric of your modern life. A true Stoic, like a warrior, trains daily, not just when a battle is imminent. 1. The morning ritual, starting with intention. How you start your morning sets the tone for your entire day. The untrained mind starts with reaction, the blare of the alarm, the addictive glow of the phone screen, the immediate influx of the world's demands. The Stoic mind starts with intention. Embrace stillness. Before you do anything else, sit in silence for just 3 to 5 minutes. No phone, no talking, just quiet. Feel your breath. Reconnect with yourself. As Marcus Aurelius taught, find that, quieter or more untroubled retreat, in his own soul. This simple act resets your nervous system and allows you to begin the day from a place of calm center, rather than from chaos. Review your principles. Spend a few minutes reading a single passage from a Stoic text like Meditations or Seneca's Letters. Remind yourself of the core principles, the dichotomy of control, amor fati, memento mori. This is like a pilot reviewing their pre-flight checklist. It ensures your guiding philosophy is top of mind before you take off into the day. Set your purpose. Ask yourself one question: what is the most important thing for me to accomplish today? Or, as we discussed, what virtue will I practice today? Having a clear purpose acts as a filter, helping you say no to distractions and yes to what truly matters. 2. The evening review, the philosophical journal. The day is done. Before sleep, the Stoic takes a few moments to review their performance. This isn't about self-criticism or judgment, it's about honest self-assessment and continuous improvement. Seneca described his own evening practice in detail. He would ask himself, what fault did I cure today? What vice did I resist? In what way am I better? This is the Stoic journal. It's a conversation with yourself. What went well? Where did I act in accordance with my values? Where did I remain calm, courageous, or just? Acknowledge these wins to reinforce them. What went poorly? Where did I let my emotions get the better of me? Where did I act out of habit instead of reason? Where did I waste my attention on things outside my control? What can I learn? How can I approach a similar situation better tomorrow? This practice of journaling holds a mirror up to your soul. It makes you aware of your patterns, both good and bad. And as Socrates famously said, the unexamined life is not worth living. The evening review ensures your life is always under examination, always on a path of growth. 3. The practice of discomfort, voluntary hardship. The modern world is obsessed with comfort. Temperature-controlled rooms, food delivered to our door, endless entertainment on demand. But the Stoics knew that an excess of comfort makes the soul soft. It weakens our willpower and makes us fragile in the face of real adversity. To counteract this, they practiced voluntary hardship. They would intentionally introduce small, controlled doses of discomfort into their lives to build their resilience. Take a cold shower. Sleep on the floor for a night. Fast for a day, or eat only the simplest of meals. Go for a walk in the cold without a jacket. The point of these exercises is to say to yourself, is this the condition that I feared? You realize that you can endure far more than you think. By willingly facing small discomforts, you vaccinate yourself against the fear of hardship. You build the mental muscle of endurance, so that when life presents you with involuntary hardship, you are not so easily broken. 4. The view from above, a meditation on perspective. When we are consumed by our own problems, they can feel enormous, all-encompassing. The Stoics had a powerful meditation to combat this, the view from above. Marcus Aurelius practiced this frequently. He would imagine himself soaring high above the earth, looking down. From that vantage point, he would see the entire planet, a tiny sphere in the vastness of space. He would see continents, cities, and finally, the teeming masses of people, all busy with their lives, their dramas, their conflicts. From this cosmic perspective, his own troubles, the political intrigues of Rome, the pressures of the battlefield, would shrink to their proper size. This is not to say our problems are meaningless. But this exercise helps us put them in perspective. It detaches us from the emotional intensity of the moment and reminds us of the bigger picture. When you are feeling overwhelmed by a work deadline or a personal conflict, try this: close your eyes. Imagine floating up, out of your room, above your city, above your country, until you see the whole earth below. Then float further, past the moon, past the planets, until the entire solar system is just a swirl of light. From this immense, silent vantage point, look back at your problem. See how small it is in the grand tapestry of existence. This exercise breeds humility and calms the anxious mind. It reminds us not to sweat the small stuff, and from a cosmic perspective, it's almost all small stuff. 5. Memento mori and amor fati, the daily reminders. Finally, the Stoic in action integrates the core mindsets of resilience into their daily life. Memento mori, remember you must die. This is not a morbid obsession, but a tool for living with urgency and gratitude. Keep a small reminder, a coin, a skull on your desk, or just a recurring thought: you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This reminder cuts through procrastination and trivialities. It forces you to ask, am I spending my limited time on what truly matters? Am I treating the people I love with the presence they deserve? Amor fati, love your fate. When something goes wrong during your day, you miss a flight, a project fails, you receive bad news, practice your alchemy. Instead of resisting or complaining, your first thought should be the Stoic mantra, good. This is an opportunity. An opportunity to practice patience, to pivot, to learn, to grow stronger. Welcome it as the material you need to build your character. This toolkit is how philosophy moves from the page to the pavement. It is how a Stoic mindset is not just thought about, but lived. The great power of Stoicism was demonstrated by Vice Admiral James Stockdale, who was shot down over Vietnam and spent over 7 years as a prisoner of war. He endured years of torture, isolation, and starvation. When later asked how he survived, he credited his study of Epictetus. He knew he couldn't control his captors or his conditions, the outer circle. He could only control his own mind, his character, his response, the inner circle. He used these principles not as an academic curiosity, but as a lifeline. He proved that the inner citadel is not a metaphor, it is a real place of refuge that can allow a human spirit to endure the unimaginable and emerge not just intact, but stronger. Music swells to a powerful, concluding crescendo, then softens. Conclusion, the unshakable you. We have journeyed together through the ancient landscape of the Stoic mind. We have seen that it is not a philosophy of cold, emotionless suppression, but one of profound inner freedom. It is a pathway to a life of tranquility, purpose, and unshakable resilience, built not on the shifting sands of external circumstances, but on the bedrock of a well-trained mind. We began by understanding the foundation, that our perception, not our reality, is the source of our suffering. We then drew the blueprint for our inner citadel with the dichotomy of control, learning to pour our energy into what is ours to command and let go of the rest. We forged the tools of resilience, learning to prepare for adversity with premeditatio malorum and to embrace it as fuel with amor fati. We raised the great pillars of virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, giving our lives a moral compass. And finally, we assembled a practical toolkit of daily habits, transforming these ideas into a living, breathing practice. Living a Stoic life does not mean you will never feel sadness, anger, or fear. You will. But these emotions will no longer be your masters. You will observe them, acknowledge them, and then choose to act from a place of reason and principle. You will no longer be a leaf blown about by the winds of fortune. You will be the deep-rooted tree, standing firm in the storm. The world will continue to be chaotic. People will continue to be unpredictable. Life will continue to present you with challenges. But none of it will have the power to break you, because you will have built a sanctuary within, an inner citadel that no external force can conquer. This journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Or rather, a single thought. Your very next thought. Will you let it hijack you, or will you choose to observe it? Will you react, or will you respond? The choice is yours. It is always yours. The work is not easy, but it is the most important work you will ever do. It is the work of crafting a soul. It is the work of becoming the person you were always meant to be, calm, courageous, resilient, and free. If something in this journey has resonated with you, if it has sparked a desire to live differently, to reclaim your mind, then let us know in the comments. Share one principle you will begin practicing today. Your story, your commitment, might be the very thing someone else needs to see to begin their own journey. And if you wish to continue walking this path with us, to keep exploring the ideas that help you live a stronger, fuller, and more awakened life, then hit subscribe and join the BAudio community. Because sometimes, all it takes is the right reminder, at the right moment, to truly begin living.